Welcome to Fridays with Dr. Frida. We have a special guest here today. Her name is Margarita Moshe. She's a powerhouse woman, a personal injury attorney. This is her second career. She's a mom of four. You are amazing. I really don't know how you do what you do, that this is your second career and you're going all in. And you are, tell us, please, what led you to where you are today and what were the turning points?
Oh my gosh, there's so many turning points throughout. We all have turning points in our life that kind of like put the fork in the road and led us into one direction or another. But it was recently Mother's Day, and I was actually speaking to my mom, and she reminded me of something that I kind of forgot about this story. A lot of people know that I came from a broken home. My parents they separated and divorced when I was about 9 years old. I was in the third grade, and I had a younger brother. He was 3 years old at the time. And I think before my dad actually left the home, I was a very carefree child. I was all about play. I wasn't really a good student. I was lazy. I was raised by my grandparents. I was very spoiled. I was like one of the only granddaughters.
You were a kid.
Yeah, I was a kid, but I wasn't the best kid. But I remember probably, I watched my mom struggle for a good couple of months because she had to pick up a lot more work. And I was probably a little bit more rebellious because I didn't understand the situation that was happening at home. So I wasn't doing very well in school, actually. And the teacher called my mom. It was maybe like 9 months after my dad left, and said, listen, your daughter's really not doing very well in school, and she's failed almost every exam this quarter. And if she's not going to pass this test that's coming in a few days, I'm going to have to seriously consider leaving her back a grade.
Mm.
So my mom, because she was so busy, she didn't really realize what was happening on in my life at school. She thought everything was being managed, and she had to take up another job to manage the rent and everything. So she came and she sat me down, and she cried. I remember that day, and it really brings like a little bit of emotion to my eyes, because I'll never forget her reaction. And she said, Margarita, this is really hard for me, and I really need you to get your act together. You cannot be left back another grade. This test, whatever it is that's coming up in a few days, I need you to pass. And I remember I looked at her, and she was crying, and I cried, and I said, Mom, I didn't even read the book. And she said, you got to be kidding me. And I said, no, I didn't. And she said, well, what is this book? And I told her, I said, it was a Sherlock Holmes mystery book. It was called The Hound of Baskerville.
You still remember
I
her?
still remember it because we talk about it. She reminded me about it. She said, do you remember The Hound of Baskerville? And I said, yes, I'll never forget it. And she says, well, then I guess we're going to have a long couple of nights. And she didn't even trust me to put me in a room alone with the book. And she says, you're going to read it to me, the whole book.
Wow, what a good mom.
And I said, oh my God, are you serious? And it was not a thin book. And she said, yeah, we're going to eat our dinner or we're going to start reading. And, my mom, she immigrated to this country when she was, 19 years old. Her English wasn't that good. And she said, yep, start from the beginning. And I sat down and I read it to her. In 2 days, we finished the book. And I have to tell you, it was the most amazing time that we spent together. It was probably the most time we've spent together in the last year because of everything that was happening between both of us, with the family situation and dynamic. She enjoyed it, I enjoyed it, and I really grew a love for books after that. I never was much of a reader, but after that, we had an amazing bonding experience. The mystery was great. We were talking about, taking breaks, talking about intrigue, having a piece of chocolate, and it really, really changed my life, because after that, I became a star student. I started going to the library. I started taking out books. I read all of the Sherlock Holmes series that summer, and Nancy Drew, and everything else that I could possibly think of. And I really started to grow a love for learning and reading, because it also opened a different chapter. Because of so much that goes on in our personal life, sometimes we just need to escape into a story, escape into some kind of fiction, and just take our minds off of it. And that's what I started. And I remember that year after in third grade, I was put into a remedial class, which means that it was almost like a special ed. And by the end of that year, I was put into an honors class for the next year.
Amazing. Wow, what a change.
Yeah, and I really, really, that was like a really big turning point that I don't think if my circumstances were different or if anything would have been any different, that I really would have been who I was today. I think that was the turning point for me, really.
So your mom played a big role in your.
Huge. If she hadn't read with me that whole night, I definitely wouldn't have read it on my own. I would have just been like, whatever. But she sat there and we were up like till hours, maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning. She's like, we got to read this book in 2 days. And I aced that test and I aced every single test after that. And I just went into from honors to accelerated. And my love of learning really grew after that. And
So, we actually really have that in common. My mom was who directed me towards reading as well. She would always tell us, like, anytime we would be in front of a screen, she would always say, do you know how much more interesting books are? You can use your imagination, you can read, and like the movie cannot put everything in detail the way the book can. And she would always try to, instill in us to read. And I remember one time she took us to the library and I started reading and I was astounded how interesting books were. And then I used to make my mom take me to the library every week, and I would take like 10 to 12 books to the point where my dad thought I was crazy. He's like, all you're ever doing is reading. I love reading, so I understand your love for books as well.
yeah, it was an escape, but it opened up a new world for you. And you learn so much reading. It started with fiction, but then the sky's the limit with what you can read.
Of course, no. I mean, books are really condensed. What people learn in decades, you can learn in one day, right? Whatever you read. I am more leaning towards more personal development books these days. Right now, I'm actually reading Buying Back Your Time by Dan Martell. Have you read that book?
No.
It's such an amazing book. He talks about, hiring other people to be able to buy back your time. Because a lot of things we do are like administrative tasks, right? $10 an hour, something we can hire someone for $10 an hour, $15 an hour. We end up doing it ourselves.
Yes.
And then we end up getting suffocated because there's too much on our plate. So he talks about really buying back your time, and not that I haven't been doing that, but it just opens up your mind to a whole new different like list of possibilities.
Yes, it does. My husband tells me I need to do that because he's a big advocate of finding the right people to help you do what you need to do so you can do what you can do the best way possible. And he says it's about teamwork. It's about getting the right people in place, training them. And I've always been the type of person who's like, if you want to do it right, you got to do it yourself. And he's like, you got to change your mindset about that. You just really need to learn to trust people and invest in people and let them do the things that can open up your time. So I absolutely agree. It's super important.
That's so hard, to really let go of the reins and give it to someone else. Nobody else will do it the way you do it, right?
True.
But I read somewhere that getting something done 70% is better than not getting it done at all. Because sometimes when you have too much on your plate, you don't get to certain things.
True, yes.
So you don't get it done at all.
Yeah,
right?
That's right. That's right, actually.
But then if you hire somebody, like even a cleaning lady, right? Have somebody come and take care of your home, then even though she won't do it the way you do it 100%, at least 70% of it is done, and that's already relieving.
Yeah, 70% is a lot.
Yeah, 70% is a lot. So tell me, what is your definition of success and how has it actually changed over the years?
So success can be measured in so many different ways. I think I used to think that success was about doing well in school, graduating, getting your diploma, passing your, boards when I was studying for my boards, then being successful at my career. I opened my own pharmacy when I was just straight out of pharmacy school. I think I was 25 years old. And I didn't know anything about running a store, but I was just kind of thrown in there. And I said, you know what, let the chips fall where they may. And I did very well. I was very successful for many years until I kind of got a little bit bored. And I said, you know what, I always wanted to do law school. It was like difficult at the time when I wanted to because I already had 2 children and I had a lot of responsibilities. And then I said, you know what, I think, I've always been someone who loves to learn. And I wasn't afraid to go back to school at the age of 38.
Amazing.
So my ideas of success at that time probably was like, getting into law school. And passing that, but it seemed like I took on every challenge, as best as I could. I took one day at a time, and I really excelled really at almost everything. I did, yes, of course, there are struggles with family and trying to manage your time with all that. But now that I look back, after I passed the bar and all that, at my age, it was not easy because I was still running a business. I had 4 kids at home. I had a demanding schedule, my social life, my husband, everything. It just was a lot. And I still managed to like do it. And I used to think that that was a lot of success. And it is in some ways. But I think now that I'm a little bit older and I've, taken on this career already, I've been in there like 5 years, and I think I categorize success a little bit differently. So yes, success can be academic, it can be, career wise or professional life. But I think at the end of the day, really success is what you have at home. I mean, we focus a lot as women on getting things right and doing things with our careers the right way. But when I look back at my table, we have Shabbat dinner every Friday, and I look, and my daughter, one of my daughters, is married, and she comes over, and we sit down and we talk, and it's just this is what I think of success as now. It's just sitting down with my family, listening to their success stories, seeing how I inspired them, how my husband inspires them, and just listening to what's going on in their lives and really relishing in their success. I think that's what real success is about. It's just
The family.
being a great example for your kids, being a great example for others around you, mentoring, giving out back to the people what you can, because I feel like at one point, you just have to say, you succeeded here, you succeeded there, what can I give back? So I think that's really what success is about now, is just really giving back to people, giving back to your family, and just enjoying that. I think that's what my real definition of success is now.
I agree with you completely. Every time I look at my kids, my family, to me, that's the most like heart, like it boosts me up. It makes me so happy. Like nothing else that I
Yeah.
achieved can do that.
Yeah, it
Right?
really warms your heart.
I remember when you came into me the first time I saw you, you said, "How I don't know how you do what you do." And I looked at you and I said, "What do you mean? I don't know how you do what you do." I really have no idea like how you went from one career to another, and you had your kids in between. Your kids are all getting like married one after the other, thank God. And
Yeah,
you're so involved with your kids. You told me you were at every bake sale,
I
you
was.
were there for every single child, and yet you were a career woman. And I know your husband has done so much, and a great man always has
Yeah,
an amazing woman behind him,
he is a great man.
right? So I think what you do is amazing, and I don't know how you do that at all. I think that you should definitely give yourself a ton of credit, because what you do is, I don't think a lot of women can accomplish what you've accomplished.
Yeah, I mean, I would have to agree, but yes, you're right. It's also about your support system. And my husband has always been very supportive of me. He always pushed me, even when I thought I couldn't do something, or he says, "Why do you doubt yourself? You're so smart. You can do this." I remember at one point after my first semester of law school, I said, "What am I doing here?" I said, "I don't know if I'm going to be able to finish." I even considered like even dropping. And he's like, "No, what are you talking about?" He's like, "You got this. You can do it. Whatever you need, get more help at work, hire another pharmacist to cover days." He says, he was always my motivator. And to be honest, I don't think I would be where I am today if it wasn't for him being like my cheerleader in the background. So I think it's so important that your partner in life is really there to support you and lift you up and just constantly motivate you every day. Like you need that.
I'm in 100% agreement with you, because my husband does the same thing for me. I would not be anywhere without him. I remember when we first got married, and he was like, "What are you doing with your life? Come on, you gotta go to school. Like you're so smart. I feel like you need to do great things, big things." He always believed in me, always pushed me, and still till this day, like he helps me with everything that I need. He supports me. A lot of people ask me, "How do you do what you do? How'd you go to school with, two, then three kids? I had my third kid in dental school. How'd you get your PhD? How do you do what you do while you're like home with the kids?" I'm like, I have thank God, like an
Yeah.
amazing man behind me, like husband that helps me. And I think it's so important for both, both spouses to be there for each other. I'm sure you supported your husband that way and he supports you. And that's where like there's real growth.
Yeah.
And I think that's what we try to do for each other. And I think that's really the only way, in my opinion.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. He always has, my husband is a go-getter. He always likes he's on to the next project like in 5 seconds after the last one is over. And sometimes he comes up to me with these ideas and I look at him and I'm like, sometimes they sound a little far-fetched. But I'm like, yeah, you could do it. Definitely. You should go for it. And he's like, really? I'm like, yeah, why not?
You have to be delusional to be successful, right? I mean, things that we can't see, like nobody really has your vision.
Yes. Yes. Right. You have to have the vision, the imagination, and the perseverance and the support. You really do.
Yeah, nobody can see what you see. And so even when people say, "Oh, you can't do it," you just got to go ahead and do it because nobody can see it.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
So what are you like mostly proud of right now? I know you said your meaning of success is your family. So what in your family maybe like what are you most proud of yourself? What are you most proud of your family?
Oh my. Let's see. I mean, I'm proud of all of my kids. I'm proud of my family. I'm proud of a lot of things.
They're all pre-med, right?
They're all pre-med. So my older daughter, she's going to be graduating med school. I can't believe it already. Next May, and she's going to be starting her residency. And I think that, I mean, I'm going to be honest. She also struggled in school. She didn't do very well early on, and I really pushed her. I really pushed her. I got her the support that she needed. I got her the tutors. I spent the time because my mother was the example for me, and I couldn't let her fail. Like failure was not an option for my kids. They all had to have the best shot, the best chance. And she said to me the other day, she said, Mom, I credit a lot of where I am because of you. And it really made me feel like really amazing that she got this far. It was through my help. And I think it's our job as moms to lift our kids up as much as we can.
Yeah, I tell my kids every day, you're going to be a billionaire. You're amazing. You're a star. You're smart. You can do anything you want to do.
Yeah, yeah. And now with residencies, because she's, sometimes if she doubts herself, she's like, oh, it's so hard to get into here. It's so hard to get into there. I said, you know what? Just try. What's the worst that's going to happen? So it doesn't work out and you move on to the next residency or you'll take something else, but just try, don't doubt yourself because I think as humans, like we doubt ourselves so much and what we can do. And it's so important for us as moms to really lift our kids up. And I did that for all my kids. My second daughter, she's also in med school now, and and my third, she's in the program, and my son he's going away actually to Boston University in the fall, and he's starting pre-med, and I'm really proud. And my sister-in-law the other day said to me, she said, "You're gonna have 4 kids that are doctors?" And I said, "Yeah, I didn't really think about that, but yeah, but they all love medicine, and that's what they all want to do. I never forced them. This was something that they just gravitated to, and you just have to really support them." So I think that's really one of my most proudest things is that I was able to support my kids, push them, motivate them, and never really let them, get discouraged in life. Just to constantly put your best foot forward and do what you can.
Yeah, we always want our kids to be better than us.
Yes.
Do even more than us, be better than us. And when they succeed, I think that's our happiest moments.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think that is my most proudest the most that I'm proud of is my children.
Even though you accomplished so much, that's the most.
Yeah,
right?
That's the most. I mean, I have accomplished a lot, but I think this tops it. Seeing their success is really like my happy moment.
What do you do with your kids in terms of like health wise? Like how did you keep them healthy and how did you support your family in terms of health?
So health wise, I mean, my kids were always pretty healthy. I think I was very lucky in that I was a pharmacist and I really didn't like take my kids to the doctors much. But health comes in so many different ways. There's physical health, there's emotional well-being, there's mental health. So with the stresses that I feel like kids are going through now, in school with peer pressure and with competition, everything is so competitive. My kids were in one of the most competitive school districts, Jericho High School, And it's just you really have to be there for them. I think emotional health is super important. You need to talk.
Yeah, it's huge.
You need to communicate with your kid. They need to feel free to be able to talk to you.
How do you accomplish something like that? Because I know there are some parents that can't get their kids to open up. Give me some tips because my kids are growing. Yours are already grown.
With girls, I found it a little bit easier than with my son, but I feel like you have to kind of, come from a parental role, but also from a standpoint that you're their friend too. You're not there to judge. You're not there to, scold them. If they did something wrong, let's face it together. Let's see how we can approach it. So managing situations rather than through punishment or through it's always easy to yell and scream and say why did you do this or why did you do that, but sometimes you just got to sit down and look back at the bigger picture, like how did they get to the situation and how can we overcome it, what can we do. So I'm a big advocate of talking things out and approaching physical and mental health through communication. If there's something bothering them, they have to also be open about it. And thank God my kids were, for the most part, very healthy. And we didn't have to really face too many challenges from physical, and I hope we don't have to. But if they do, they can always come to me and I can always give them the best advice.
Yeah. No, that's so important. I think that when kids close up, even sometimes when my son gets upset, my older one, sometimes he'll just shut himself up and like go to the room and just like cry there about like a mistake that he did, or maybe he wasn't happy with the way something turned out. I'm like, can you speak to me? Like, what is going on? Talk to me. Sometimes it gets to the point where you really don't know how to make your kids speak.
Yeah.
But you can't force it out of them if they don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, I mean, I have one of my kids who's a little bit more closed off than the others, but sometimes I'll just go into her room, I'll cuddle up with her, I'll be like, so what's new? What's going on? How's everything going? And just regular conversation, and then one thing leads to another, and sometimes you get somewhere and sometimes you don't. And you just kind of got to take it and say, okay, well, if you need me, I'm here. And that's all they really need to know.
Right. So have you ever faced imposter syndrome?
I think every day, probably. Every day. I mean, who doesn't nowadays, especially I feel like for women, you get burned out so easily between juggling so many things. We have to be amazing moms. We have to be amazing at our career. We're working. Yeah. We're juggling so much family. Sometimes around the Jewish holidays, I say, oh my God, how am I going to get through this? All this shopping, all this preparing. But you definitely do feel the burnout, and it's really important. I feel like that you need to kind of just like sometimes stop and take a breath, even though it seems like it's almost impossible, but you really need to do it. And I do try to do that as much as I can, really. Even when I don't have the energy, even when I don't have the time, I try to get some fresh air, go for a walk, get myself a nice treat. If it means like something sweet, I really like, I'm a big sweets person.
What do you like? What do you like to eat? Something sweet?
Oh, I love chocolate. I love pastries, cake. Like sometimes I'll just, I want to treat myself. And
there's an amazing bakery by our home. It's called Lulu's.
Oh yeah, they have really good.
Oh my God, their cannolis are.
I love cannolis.
They're so good. The chocolate ones.
Yeah, I feel like once in a while you can do that for yourself.
Once in a while, I let myself have one.
Yeah. Also, I don't know, I really love to garden.
Really?
Yeah. So I have a little bit of a green thumb. I think most people know that about me, that I really take pride in gardening.
So everything that's in your house is fresh?
I do grow my own food, yes.
Organic, like
nice. Organic, yes.
Oh, amazing.
I've been doing this for many, many years. And I just really I really like to get my hands dirty. I really like get into the ground. I try to do as much as I can. The beginning of the spring season is like my favorite time because I get to go to the nursery. I pick out my seeds. I pick out my whatever I'm gonna plant, and I know this is what I'm gonna get for the whole year. And I gotta tell you, there's nothing like more satisfying than going into your garden and picking out your tomatoes or your cucumbers or zucchini.
They came out of like nowhere, right?
Yeah.
You just planted some seeds into the ground, but that's how life is.
Yeah.
You plant seeds, and then you let them grow, and then God navigates everything else, right?
Yeah, and I have it this time. Like we moved into our new house, like last a little bit over a year ago, and my husband did something really special for me. He surprised me. He built me a greenhouse.
It's so cute.
Yeah, it's really cute, and I get to like grow things even into like early winter. And I really take a lot of pride in that, and I show it off, and I think that also helps you with the burnout. You just got to do things that make you happy sometimes. Just do things for yourself. I mean, it also grounds you. I feel like it's
Yeah, it really does because you're in the ground.
you're literally in the ground, and you're really watching something coming out of nothing, growing into something beautiful, and it's supplying you with fresh vegetables for almost like the whole summer into fall. And I really love the fact that now with my greenhouse I can do it even more.
And it's like the healthiest thing you can do too. It's whole foods and it's all organic.
It's all organic. I
Natural.
don't use anything. No, all I use is water. And I started composting, so I use my own
We
compost.
actually have to isolate compost now in New York City. Like we had to buy this special compost trash can.
Yes, in New York City, yes. But I got one of those mills. It's like one of those like it's called a mill, and it just composts for me. And I gotta tell you, this is my first year using the compost. It's really making a huge difference in my vegetables.
Really.
Yeah, like
I have
amazing.
to try them sometime.
I'll definitely bring you over some. But it like I was looking at my tomatoes the other day. I said they were just tiny, and within a week they just shot up. And I
You're
said, wow,
giving them all that nutrition.
yeah, the nutrition. I think
Which food lacks these days.
that is true. It's very hard. It's very hard with our nutrition right now. Even if you're buying organic, it's you don't really like know
You don't
what you're
really
getting. You don't know what you're getting. You hope that it is, and you want to trust it, but when I pick out my tomatoes, I know that they haven't been anywhere else except.
I haven't gone into that yet, but maybe it's in my future.
You never know.
You never know. No. My mom always said, I want a garden, I want a garden, I want to paint. Like that was always my mom's thing. She always wanted to get into that. She still hasn't, but I hope she does.
Yeah, it's really great. I really enjoy it.
So is that your like daily thing that you do to kind of ground yourself?
Yeah, I do. I try to be in the garden almost every day.
Oh wow.
Yeah, even if it's like for half an hour, even if it's just to water them.
It's usually in the mornings.
Yes, usually it's in the mornings, or sometimes it's after the sun goes down, like early evening. I'll do that after I get home from work.
Do you what does your morning routine look like? What do you do in the mornings?
So, my mornings are usually a little hectic, but I would say that, after I get up, the first thing that I really do is after I've washed up and gotten dressed is I recently started praying. And I mean, I've always been a person of faith. I've always believed in God and had a strong belief. But I think that, my friend recently added me, I would say a year ago, to a Tehillim group. And, she said, oh, let me add you. And I said, okay. I mean, I never really read Tehillim like this. And, it started by just committing yourself to like 40 days. And I said, okay, I'll give it a shot. And I started reading the chapters. And I every 40 days I try to commit to like a different. If I'm praying for something specific, I'll commit to different chapters depending. But I think I was really surprised with how much I enjoyed to pray, because I think my whole perception of praying was really wrong from the beginning. When we
Felt forced, right?
It felt forced. It felt also like, when you would go to shul, it was all about you have to pray right, you have to pronounce the words right. I don't read Hebrew. I don't, I never studied Hebrew. So I was always like worried I'm going to do it wrong, or I'm not saying it wrong, or it's just, but I think my whole perception of praying right now is really just talking to God. You can just read a few chapters. You can pray, and your prayer doesn't have to be anything specific. You can pray in any language. You can pray in English, and you can just talk. You can talk to Hashem. You can speak to Him like we're speaking to each other.
I gave you that journal, right?
Yes,
That I made.
yes. Actually, I started writing it, and I really like it.
How amazing is it? I actually started this practice in dental school. How it started is I was very overwhelmed. I started dental school 2 weeks after I had my baby.
Wow, that's really That's impressive.
My second. And we hired a nanny that we didn't know. She was amazing, by the way, but you know, you're still leaving your baby with somebody you don't know, a stranger, and then there's an exam after exam at school at 8 a.m. every single morning. We had quizzes. So I was studying in Westchester, and I had to drive out there. It was a 45-minute drive, and sometimes you get stuck in traffic, so I would always get there a little earlier. I would get there by like 7:15, 7:20, and I would just sit there. And while everybody else was socializing, waiting for the class to start, I was writing in any notebook that I can find. I was praying. And I was saying, you know, God, please help me get past this exam. Please help me pass this quiz. Please, you know, take care of my kids at home. Whatever, I would feel like any kind of overwhelmment, I would just write in there. And I'm telling you, it was as if like I had no worries. Everything would just, I would pass every single exam. My kids were great at home. My nanny was amazing. It was as if like all my prayers just went straight up to heaven.
Oh, amazing.
And you know, you read Tehillim, so it kind of reminded me, you know, King David was a really great man, but he was just a human like all of us, right? And his prayers are so magical to God.
Yeah, they really are.
Because they're so spoken from the heart.
Absolutely.
Right. So why can't we speak to God from the heart and tell him what we think and write our thoughts and feelings down and make these our prayers? And I think that's what really makes it special. There's actually a book, it's called In Forest Fields. It's by a Rabbi Shalom Arush, and he speaks about how personal prayers are the strongest prayers, and they go directly to God. Because prescribed prayers, the ones from the sitters, are already like the angels already know which routes they're coming from, so they are able to stop them. But when you have personal prayers, they don't know yet, so they don't know which route's coming from.
That's very interesting. I never thought about it that way, but it does make a lot of sense now that you come to think of it. But I actually really like your book because I started writing in it, and it's almost like you're journaling at the same time. You're talking from your heart, and you're talking to God, and you're just praying for what you want, and you're praying for what you need. And I think that's the most valuable, really, way to pray for a person.
I gave those journals out a lot during Hala events and different Torah and tea events. And people still come up to me and they're like, oh, you gave me that journal. I use it. It's amazing. I pray in it. And I'm always shocked because it's helped me so much, but I didn't know that it would make such an impact on people. So I love that it could do that.
Thank you for sharing that with me. Actually, first I was like, I never really journaled, but I feel like it's really kind of eye-opening because sometimes you go back and you read and you're like, oh, wow, you know what? Thank God this came true, or thank you, Hashem. And you start to feel more grateful about your life because, you know, this happened or this didn't happen, or sometimes something that doesn't happen that you want for is also a blessing.
Yeah.
It's a way of God to protect you. So it's really magical to actually go back and read, and I enjoyed going back even a couple of days ago.
Seeing where was my mind?
Yeah, where was my mind at that time, and where is it now?
So there's actually this book. It's called Write It Down, Make It Happen. There is something really magical in writing things, and so when you write them, something happens where it just comes true.
Manifestation.
Yeah. I've been writing myself letters every year at the end of the year to read the next year.
I like that idea.
And it's crazy because I lost my letter. I didn't know where I put it because you put it away for a year so you don't read it. And then I looked and I was looking through some documents and I found it and I opened it, and out of 15 things that I wrote down, maybe 8 to 10 of them came true.
Wow.
I wrote in there that I had a baby, I'm doing this wellness, it's so much, and it all came true. I'm like, wow, that's crazy.
Yeah. On that note, I want to say when I graduated high school, one of my teachers, my biology teacher, he does a project at the end of the year, and he makes you write a letter to yourself that you're going to read in 20 years.
Oh wow.
So he actually so you write the letter, he mails it himself in 20 years, and I recently got it. It was a couple of years ago, and I opened up this letter from 20 years ago, and I said, oh my God, I can't believe what I wrote in there. I was so young, and I was so naive and so lost about my direction.
Such a kid.
And I'm like, so much can happen in 20 years. And you really look back, and I thought it was an amazing project to do. And I was actually considering having my kids do that too, because I think it was a very valuable lesson to me. That letter was like really eye opening.
The things you think about at one age are so different than what you think about.
Completely.
You
Completely.
change so much as a person. It's really I remember my mom telling me that I used to love reading a lot of fiction when I was a kid, and my mom was like, "Why are you buying all these books?" I'm like, "Mom, I'm gonna love these books forever, right? These are my books." Like I had a whole library in my room, and my mom was like, "No, your ideas of life are gonna change." I was like, "What are you talking about? I'm gonna love these books forever. Like you don't know what you're talking. They're so great. They're amazing." And now I can't even get myself to read one of them because I feel like I don't have the time, and I'd rather read something
New.
yeah within personal development right wise. So it's crazy how our mind really does change. At that time I was so short, I was like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, like some classic books, they'll still be classic books, but yeah, you do evolve and you do change. I mean, we're human beings. That's our nature, is to evolve and change. If you're not changing, you're not growing. So I really, I think that it's really like you sometimes need to reflect back a little bit and just see how far you've come and appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. Well, since we're talking about how far you've come, and again going back to success, what are some things that people don't see behind the scenes of your success? We always see the highlight reel. We
Yeah.
never see the struggle behind, and what people are actually going through, the grind, right? We call it. What would you say?
I mean, I think people have a lot of misconceptions about one another. I mean, it's very easy to say, oh, she has it all, or she doesn't need anything, or it's just easy for her. But I don't think anything really comes easy to anybody. I think where we all are is because of the work that we've put in, and I've always been a very very hard worker, and my even though like my success now, my husband's success has allowed us to really like live life a little bit differently, experience a little bit more leisure time, but I still work really hard. I've always, when I opened my own business, I did everything there myself. I didn't have a pharmacist to cover my shifts for the first couple of years. I worked all alone. I learned the business. I developed relationships with my patients. It was really important for me to succeed. And if that meant that I had to, work long hours and do what I need to do, then that's what I did. And I was never afraid of work. I've been working since I was 13 years old. And it's just, I think people, they see what's on the outside and they don't really know what goes on inside. But a lot of blood, sweat, and tears went into every career. My pharmacy career, it was a lot of work. My law career is a lot of work, and that's evolving now, and I'm still developing that. And I'm not afraid. I'm not afraid to get my hands dirty. I'm not afraid to do what I need to do to make things work. And I
Right.
think that that's the most important thing, really, is just people to understand that nothing comes easy for anyone. We all get back what we give. So if you want to get back 100%, you have to give it. And if that takes your time and your strength and your energy and your effort.
You
So
got to plant those seeds.
yeah, those seeds need
They're
to
not
get
going to
planted.
plant themselves,
No, they're
right?
not going to grow themselves either. You got to
Yeah.
water it also.
Yeah, you got to water, you got to take care of it, you got to look after it, and you have to keep, like you said, you're there every single day,
Every day.
or at least half an hour. You have to have that discipline and that resilience and that persistence and not give up, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's just, I think we have to really appreciate one another to see that our successes are not all superficial, that there is movement that is happening in the background that's making it happen. And everyone puts in their all really to get to where they are. So I think that needs to, especially for women, it needs to be really appreciated.
yeah, there's definitely a lot of people say, oh, wish me luck, it's luck. I think there is a sense of grace, right? Like it comes from Hashem, it comes from
Yes,
God, but there is also your own hard work and you actually wanting it, envisioning it for yourself, going after it and taking it,
absolutely.
right? And asking for it. Like not being afraid to ask for help, not being afraid to lean over when you need something. And that's actually when I was in dental school. That was actually one of the things that we spoke about a lot. That's a superpower, asking for help. because a
Yeah.
lot of people they won't ask for help and then they don't end up getting what they want.
Yeah, that's true. You have to, if you need it, you have to be able to ask for it, and you don't have to be afraid. You don't have to be embarrassed. We all need some help at some point in our lives, and it's okay.
Yeah, that's actually something I tell my husband very often. I always tell him, you know, the people that you are asking for help because they can give it to you have at one point asked somebody else for that help. Like nobody got to the top on their own,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah, I 100% agree.
What do you wish more women heard earlier in their careers?
Earlier in their careers, well, I think when you're really starting your career, you're so focused on, just doing the best you can to succeed and excel and get to the top of where you are. Um, I think that one thing that they really need to understand, no matter what you do, no matter how much work you're going to put in, you have to really take the time to be there for yourself too. I mean, when I got out of law school, I started working at a firm and I was putting in a lot of hours because I just wanted to prove myself. I felt that I was at the age where I was a little bit older than a lot of the younger grads, and I really needed to prove myself, prove things to my colleagues, to my family, and I put in a lot of hours. And I would sometimes be in the office like till 8:30 at night. And I said, "What am I doing?" Like,
Why,
I was working
right?
in the city. I had to take the train home. I live on Long Island. It was like I would get home like almost 10 o'clock. I was like, this has to stop. And I said, what am I trying to prove? Like, I think everything that I wanted to prove already, I proved to myself. But at this point, I'm just making myself crazy, and I'm putting like all this effort in to things that I don't think that it's just. I don't think it was worth it at the
At the end of the
time.
day, it doesn't hold any value.
It doesn't. It doesn't, because if you don't do your job right, tomorrow you can be replaced. It doesn't matter. You do it for yourself. Yes, you do. But you really need to just focus a little bit on yourself too. You can't kill yourself, because it's going to take effect on your health. It's going to take an effect on, it's going to affect your emotional well-being as well. It's going to affect your family. And you just don't want it. At the end of the day, it's just not worth it. Yes, it's a job. Yes, it's your career. You know what, if you're gonna, whatever you do, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen for you, but you don't need to kill yourself over everything. Do the best that you can. Put your best foot forward. That's what I always tell my kids.
You had accomplished already so much up until that point. Why did you feel the need to prove something more to yourself?
I don't know what it was. It's just something about my personality. I just need to, I guess, validate myself that, I didn't go back to school at this age, and I didn't do all this for nothing, that I'm going to excel and I'm going to succeed, because it was important for me. I didn't want to just, get a degree and, say, okay, now that's it. I wanted to learn, and I wanted to also, I think I wanted to make my kids proud too. I wanted them to see that, even though I was older and, I had so much already, just, I wasn't afraid to put in the time to really like make something grow.
So that's now that is valuable.
Yeah, but it doesn't come overnight. It comes with time and experience.
Do you agree that getting a degree kind of ties us up to what we do? Like it makes us feel like we're stuck to it?
I don't think so. I don't think so. And I'll tell you why. I mean, when I started working as a pharmacist, not too long after I opened my store, I had a store in the Bronx, and I noticed my clientele very quickly. I realized that a lot of them had Hep C, HIV, and I was one of the first pharmacies that actually started like the needle program, where it was the ESAP program, and we started dispensing needles to, clean needles to people on the streets. They would be able to just come in. They didn't need a prescription. If they asked you for it, you give it out. So I really developed a rapport with a lot of my clients that way. They started to trust me. They said, they felt very comfortable with me. They spoke to me, and I said, this community is really like crying out for help. And I became very friendly with a couple of my patients, and a lot of them came from centers where, like homeless centers and shelters where they just got out of jail or they were in halfway homes, or, it was just a lot. It was a very, very varied kind of demographic. And it was very different from what I was brought up to. So I used to deliver medications to one of the centers, and I remember one day my delivery guy didn't show up, and I came and I dropped it off, and I was talking to the director there, and she said, a lot of the patients really love you. And I said, really? Yeah, they come, they talk about you. And I said, that's interesting. And she said, you have a lot of, you can come from a place where you can actually make a difference to some of these people. And she said, if you want, I have an idea for you. And it's a way that you can also kind of market yourself, and you can, and you can make a difference to someone. And she said, why don't you come in and like do a lecture here once a month and educate these people about like their medications, because a lot of them were they had Hep C, they had HIV, but they were also doing illegal drugs. They were IV drug users. They didn't really understand, nor did they care the impacts that they were doing to their health, or about like the drug interactions that were happening to them. About, naloxone was not really something that was being given out very easily back then. This is, almost 25 years ago, but really educating them. And I remember I sat down to do my first like PowerPoint slide that I was going to present to them, and I said, oh my God, what am I going to say? Are they even going to want to listen? And you know what? I went to my first one, and we have the whole row, and they're all like, so interested and enthralled. And I said, you know what? Every doctor that we've been to, nobody explained to us any of these side effects that we were feeling, any of these interactions. They were like mind boggled. They had no idea. They said the doctor spends 5 minutes with us, gives us a prescription, sends us out for blood work, and you actually took the time, and they really appreciated it.
Nothing has changed, by the way. Doctors still do that.
That is true. I do hear that, especially now. And physicians are so like time crunched, but it's been like that for really a long time. Patients really feel alienated. They feel like they're not being informed. And you would think that they wouldn't really like pay attention, or it really wouldn't be interested to them, but they were. They really like swallowed up all this information, and they were so grateful. And I think that was really like eye-opening for me, that, I can give back something to them as well.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, I had so many people come to me after that. They would just come, they would just talk. Like sometimes they just wanted to ask a question. They would come visit me. I mean, I was busy at the time, but I always made time for them. Sometimes they want to ask personal things. I think, that was really that really led to my success in the pharmacy business.
It gives you purpose.
Mm-hmm. And it gave me purpose at the same time. I felt really good. I went back every month, and they all because the people in there would change. So, and they loved it. And sometimes the people would be the same. They're like, oh, Margarita's coming. I really enjoyed teaching. It was almost like teaching too.
Because it is a form of teaching, of course.
Teaching, mentoring, and I really started to grow a love for that also. So I guess, yeah, you're put into situations for a reason.
Yeah.
And you don't know the impact that you have on so many people until afterwards. Like you say, wow, you know what, it was worth my time.
I agree. I think our stories are somewhat similar. So I first went to dental school. Actually, it's actually crazy if I go way back. I was supposed to go to law school.
Mm-hmm.
I took my LSATs.
Oh.
I got into 12 out of 15 schools that I applied to.
Wow.
But I decided not to do it for reasons that I couldn't. When I lived in Arizona, I moved to New York, and I wanted to start working here and going to school, and I couldn't find a job as a legal assistant anywhere. And I said, what am I going to school for? Because they were telling me, why would we hire you? These attorneys are working for free coming out of school. And I said, wait, I'm going to be going to school, paying so much in loans,
mm-hmm.
and I'm not even going to be able to find a job that pays me.
Yeah.
It turned me off completely. I accidentally got into the dental field. I started working with a dentist, and I fell in love with dentistry. It's still my passion. But then when my son got sick, he had asthma, and we couldn't find answers, and we had to find a way to heal him. I got into natural medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And I got my PhD in natural medicine. And even though I still have a passion for both because both of them are medicine, I feel like with natural medicine, I have so much purpose.
Yeah.
Because when people feel it's kind of if it's chronic, it's not instantaneous, but if it's something more acute, it's so much instant like relief for people that it is so gratifying.
Mm-hmm.
And when it's chronic and it like you see somebody get relief after 3 months, after a year, after 2 years, and they're like, I never thought I would get rid of the psoriasis. I never thought that I would be able to feel good again. I never thought that I could lose weight. It gives you so much purpose to want to just help them. And I kind of stayed in that wellness field. And even though we're working on a dental practice together with wellness, my goal is to obviously stay in the wellness part of it and hire an associate to do the dental aspect, but also look over that because the mouth is a big part of the body.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I totally understand you like jumping from one career to the other.
Yeah, absolutely. And I remember the first time I came to you, I came from a place where I think I was very frustrated with my health issues that I've faced over the last couple of years. And I was really like, I think the most amazing thing was that you just listened. And I forgot how important that is. It's just for like a practitioner to actually listen to you. And you didn't rush me. You took the time. I think I even like cried about a story to you. And I was like, I felt so relieved after I left your office that day. I said, oh my God. I said, that felt so good. Somebody heard me out. And it's like, take your time and you really explain things. And you don't get that with, conventional practitioners anymore.
Yeah, no, I really try to give that. I try to give my all to my clients because I know what it's like. Right, with my son, I didn't feel like, even though his pediatrician is amazing, she's very knowledgeable, but it's not about their knowledge, it's about their lack of tools. Like they are not given certain tools to use to be able to help us. Like these doctors that go to these medical programs, a lot of it is, I feel, continuing education, which doctors don't have time to do. They barely have time to see their patients.
Yeah.
They're so backed up. So I think a lot of it is really continuing education, making sure that you're constantly growing, constantly looking for ways to learn, and constantly reading. I think that is what really differentiates one practitioner from another.
Yeah, you have to continue to learn because there's just so much knowledge out there and
never ends.
It never ends. And if you really want to do the best, you have to just keep on learning because there's just such a vast amount of information, and we're living in a time where it's coming out at the speed of light.
Yeah, I mean, right now with AI, there's so much information out there.
Yeah, it's hard to see, like sometimes differentiate what's true and what's not. So you have to really be careful. You have to really like spend the time, invest in yourself to really educate yourself properly with the proper knowledge.
Right, proper knowledge, proper mentors, proper guidance. Right.
Oh, absolutely.
Mentorship is so important.
Very important because I think people, especially our youth, they need it so much more now than ever before. It's like they need guidance, they need inspiration, they need to hear these stories, they need to be put on a path. It's just, we're all so busy with it, the hustle and bustle of every day. If you're not giving back what you know, then what's really the purpose of it?
Actually funny you say that. So I was really, my whole thing always was asking, what is my purpose? Because even though I went to dental school and everybody was like, wow, that's so amazing, you're 10% of the population, like dentists are like really smart people. I was like, listen, New York is making 1,000 dentists a year.
Right? There's a lot of dentists now.
Right? A year. Imagine just New York alone. We live in the United States, there's 50 states.
A lot.
So the amount of dentists that are being made a year, and I'm just thinking, like, what really brings out my purpose? What brings out my ability to impact the world, right? And so happens to be that I was meditating, and my subconscious mind told me, you have so much knowledge to share it with the world.
Oh,
and that's what I've been trying to do.
Yeah, that's inspirational, and that's really amazing that you do that for everyone.
That's what my WhatsApp chat is about. I really just try to like give back. That's my way of giving back and speaking
I
to
actually
people.
love your WhatsApp chat. I wake up every morning, I'm like, oh, this is new information. I love it. It's
I was really, really on top of that chat myself until I had my baby. And then my husband really jumped in.
I love his information also.
Yes, he's doing research all day long. He is posting on there. He is so on top of it, which is such a blessing because I really, between the baby and between, I mean, I'll still answer questions that he can't answer, obviously, but between the baby and the practice, I don't even have time
Yeah,
to be on there all day.
I know, but he's great also with the information that he posts,
Yeah,
and
he's
you
amazing.
both are an amazing powerhouse.
Thank you. You too. You and your husband are amazing. And I wanna close this out by asking you, what is one thing you would give advice to? What is one advice that you would give to yourself as like your younger self?
As my younger self, I probably would say that you're you're good enough. I think that a lot of us don't really appreciate everything that we do. We don't. It's hard, It's just you're good enough just the way you are. You don't need to prove yourself to anyone. You don't need to prove anything to yourself. You are God's beautiful creation. He put you on this earth for a reason, and you know, no matter what you do, you're just gonna be great. And just love yourself, appreciate yourself, love your family, and love life, and live it to the fullest. That's what I would tell
I feel
myself.
like you're speaking to me right now. I really feel that way. The first time you came to me, I felt like when you were speaking to me, I felt like I was looking in the mirror
Really?
of my older self and about, I'm 34 now and you are
46.
46. So a few years down the line, right? I felt like I was looking into the mirror of myself when you were speaking, and I was like, wow, and right now when you just said that I felt that mirror image again.
Yeah, I remember I told you have enjoy this time with your little kids and really enjoy it because it goes by so fast. And in a couple of years, they'll all be grown. I have most of my kids leaving the house. My second daughter is getting married. My son's going away. And it's just like, sometimes I think, oh my gosh, what am I going to do now? I have to think about the next chapter of my life.
What is next?
Well, I really like to travel. I really enjoy seeing places I've never seen before. And I really want to spend some more time on that. Focus on my new career and build that up. And be there for my kids because they're at a time right now where I feel like they need to be mentored. They need someone to help them
You're so
navigate
blessed to
life.
have you.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm blessed too. I'm really blessed. I have the most amazing children, and I think sometimes I sit with my husband and I said, "Are we ready for this new chapter? God willing, we're going to become grandparents soon." And he said, "Oh, I can't wait." And I said, "I can't wait too."
I saw your husband shed a tear at the last wedding.
Oh, he shed more than one tear. I think we both were bawling when we were walking my daughter down the aisle. I don't know what's going to happen with the next one.
My husband was looking at him. He's like, "I'm definitely gonna cry at our kid's wedding."
You can't help it. You just can't help it because like all the effort that went into this. It's not just that one moment. It's accumulation of all those years. And I'm just looking forward. Some people are afraid of aging. They're afraid of becoming old, but you just have to take care of yourself. You have to really appreciate your body, appreciate your mind, and embrace what else life has for you because every stage is so special and it's so unique and it brings so much depth into your life that you really have to just appreciate it. So age gracefully, take care of yourself, and just love life as best as you can.
I love that. You're right.
Embrace every chapter because they're all going to go by super super quick, and then you're like, what happened last time?
Well, I really appreciate you coming out. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, it was my pleasure. Thank you.
Of course, I would love to do this with you again. I think that we are making a big impact on the woman in our community and women out there that can see that it is possible to do it all,
Yes.
right? But with the right support system.
Right support system, right people, and with the right motivation. You need to. I think it's really important for successful women to give back You have to do as much as you can and help our youth, because a lot of our youth is still very lost, and we need to just do as much as we can to build them up. So
We need to put a lot of faith into them.
yeah, faith, and say, you know what, you're good enough.
Exactly.
Thank you. This is really amazing. I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming.